Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another election prediction. This time we have Vice President Kamala Harris up against former President Donald Trump. So we're just going to rank the safer states here. I do think Harris would be weaker than Donald Trump. That's for sure. It's shown in the numbers. I mean, once I fill in all the safe states, I'll show you the RCP favorability numbers. But typically, Harris trails Biden by 3% according to these numbers. So again, she's gonna definitely struggle against Trump just because of her underperformance from Biden. But okay, we set up all the safe states. I'll show you her RCP favorable numbers, but let's get right into it. So the issue is she's at 37.6 favorability and 53%. So the spread is about minus 15.5 or so. So let's scroll down to the numbers here. So Harris is at 37%, Biden's at 40% in terms of favorability, while Trump's at 38%. So Trump already has a slight advantage here just because his favorability number is just a couple points higher than Harris's. And but he has a worse unfavorability number, so that's something that he needs to worry about. Okay, let's go back to that. All right. So again, Harris has a worse favorability number, and we could even search up polling. And currently on the Wikipedia or the Wikipedia aggregation of polls, Harris trails Biden in most of the polls against her versus Trump. Usually it's by 2 or 3 points or so. So again, she's pretty much going to struggle in most of the swing states here, underperforming with independent voters. However, I do think she'll do pretty decent among minority voters. She did a good minority turnout. But start off with Colorado is safe Democratic again. It's just trending more and more left wing every election. Harris will be easily able to win this state. New Mexico and Virginia, I'm putting as likely states. They're traditionally Democratic, but of course she's losing a couple points from Biden support, so she'll not win them by safe margins like Biden would against Trump. In Iowa and Ohio, again, I don't think she's a good candidate for the Rust Belt. Plus, Iowa and Ohio are very white states now. Again, she would do better with minority voters here, but there's not a lot of minority voters in Iowa. It's a very white state in Ohio. Again, they have pretty big urban areas here, but still not enough to counteract the rural areas in Ohio going against her. So again, I would put that as a Trump plus 10 state. I don't think Harris would make it competitive. I don't think she should focus on winning this either. It's kind of impossible. Alaska also, again, it's a very rural state. I don't think Harris would do as well in the rural areas. Plus, with her trailing Biden, she wouldn't do as well here. In the state of Florida, I think it's still going to be likely a Republican state. Again, Democrats are just losing their registration advantage here. And with a lot of independents who dislike Harris a bit more than Biden, she has a lower favorable number than Biden. Again, independents will probably go more towards Trump here. In the state of Texas, she'll definitely underperform Biden in this state, probably by a couple points or so. So Trump probably wins Texas by the same amount he won in 2020, like 5.5%. In New Hampshire and Maine, I think Maine would still remain a likely state. It wouldn't be safe, though, but Maine's second would go to Trump by a likely margin. Again, rural areas, we're seeing that trend. They're just going against Harris here. The state of New Hampshire, would it be likely or lean in this scenario? I think it would probably be a 4.5% Harris victory. It's teetering unlikely just because it's a very socially liberal state, and typically nowadays in the polls, Trump's pretty much down to Biden in some cases by the double digits in New Hampshire, but I'm not really sure about that. They said that in 2020 and then it turned into a likely race. So for now, I'm being a bit cautious as putting it as a lean state. In the state of Minnesota, I still think she'll carry it by a likely margin. I think she'll definitely underperform in a couple of areas, but she'll still do good enough in the urban areas in Minnesota to carry it by 5 points against Trump. And Nebraska second as well, just with the urban trends here. She'll definitely underperform Biden by a couple points, but she'll do relatively well in the district of Nebraska second. Okay, let's see which state we should go to next. Georgia and North Carolina. I think we'll do these both. North Carolina, she'll definitely get good minority turnout in this state, but again, independents might break a little bit away from Harris just because she is trailing the favorability numbers here. Plus, Biden's kind of trailing in North Carolina as well in some polls. Trump's up by a tilt margin. But for now, I think Trump does a tiny bit better than a Biden matchup. He probably wins North Carolina by 2 or 3 points, probably 2 points or so against Harris. Be higher black turnout in a general election, which would be beneficial for her, but not enough. In Georgia, this is an extremely narrow state, and my last prediction with Biden v. Trump, I land Biden win Georgia by a tilt margin. So right now it's a turnout game here, but I do think we probably see like a bit of a Stacey Abrams effect with Harris. I think she'll still get very good turnout with black voters. But again, like we saw in the 2022 gubernatorial election, that the Republican candidate narrowly pulled it off just because of better. He got better margins than independent voters in Atlanta's suburbs and Atlanta itself. He just got better margins there. So again, just because Harris is typically more unpopular than Biden in nearly every single poll, I think Trump will still just narrowly tilt Georgia in his favor. But it'll be one of the closest states here, that's for sure. Okay, in the Rust Belt states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I think she'll pull off a win in Michigan, but it'll be a very close win. I think she'll get very good turnout in the Detroit area, get very turnout in the urban areas, but I still think she'll pull off a narrow win here. I think Trump winning in 2016 was kind of a bit of a fluke for Michigan here, but still, just because she would do typically a bit worse with more independent populist types of voters, Trump narrows the margin here. In Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, I think both these states probably end up going towards Trump by each lean margins. I think she would do well with black voters again, but again, she wouldn't do as well with those rural populist type of voters, similar to the case in Michigan. I think she would lose a bit of margins among those white working class voters again, which those are the type of voters that Biden did a tiny bit better with than Hillary Clinton did in 2016, but should lose those voters here just because I don't think she would be able to get those types of populist voters away from Trump because, again, she's just not as popular as Joe Biden is, or she's more unpopular than Joe Biden, I should say. But in Nevada and Arizona, I will say in Nevada, I think it'll be a narrow advantage towards Trump. But again, if Harris really hammers Trump on the issue of abortion, she could totally win this state. I mean, the polls frequently underestimate Democrats in Nevada. So she could totally pull off a win here. But as of right now, just because Trump has a slightly better, like, favorable numbers here, and I think he would do a tiny bit better than independents in the state of Nevada, I see him winning it by, like, the closest of close margins, like, just a few thousand votes or so against Harris. But in the state of Arizona, again, I'm going back and forth on this, but Trump's super unpopular in this state. With the moderate independent voters, they just despise him, and would they vote for Harris, hold their nose and vote for her? Trump does have a lot worse favorability rating. Like, if we look at it, like, he's -18, while Harris is only around -15 or so. So, I don't know. With Arizona, it's a really tough case to see here. Could Harris pull off a narrow victory, or would she lose it? I think it'll go like 10,000 votes either way here. But this is a tough one. Yeah, I'm taking a while because I'm trying to figure it out here. Again, we saw Carrie Lake lose against like a no-name candidate or someone who really didn't even try it in campaign. So honestly, I think the Democrats here, I think they'll still be energized to vote for Kamala Harris against Donald Trump. She isn't super far left, so I think a lot of independent voters will still break her way just because they hate Trump so much in this state. And most of his candidates lost in 2022 by a lot, well, except for Carrie Lake. But that's because Katie Hobbs didn't run the best campaign. That's why it was so close. She didn't debate. She didn't campaign enough. But still got that win. So again, let me know what you think of this video in the comments below, and I would really appreciate it if you were to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.